Namaste. Today's video is about foundational literacy and numeracy and why we are still far away from achieving foundational literacy and numeracy. ACER report 2024 released by Pratham Foundation says that 43% of the children in the age group of 14 to 18 cannot read sentences in English, while their rural counterparts, about 25% of the children, struggle to read a sentence properly. And in rural areas, children, even in that age group, they even struggle with simple division. Actually, the division children are supposed to learn by the age of, by the time they are in classes 3 or 4. Now, we have implemented National Education Policy 2020. Nipun Bharat mission was launched in 2021. NCF came in the year 2000. NCFFS came in the year 2022. NCF National Curriculum Framework for School Education came in the year 2023. And in spite of all these policies that are taken by the government, we still see that our children have not only achieved foundational literacy and numeracy, but we are far away, or we are still lot of work has to be done in that direction. Now, in the Nipun Bharat mission, which started as a mission for foundational literacy and numeracy, there were actually targets or lakshyas that had to be achieved by the time the children completed the foundational stage. And by the end of class 2, they were supposed to be proficient in foundational literacy and numeracy. Now, first of all, a little bit I will elaborate on why these foundational literacy and numeracy is so important. All of us know that we get to know about our environment and the external world by various experiences that we get, and most of the things that we learn about the external world is by reading. So first, unless and until the children know how to read, it is very difficult for them to know about the external world. That is, learn to read. First, children have to learn to read, and then they have to read to learn. So in that way, foundational literacy and numeracy is extremely important. That is the first point that everybody knows. Now, there is a second very important factor why children need to know about foundational literacy, why children should have foundational literacy and numeracy. This is actually something that is related to the brain development of the child, and it is proven that around the age of 3, 4, 5, children develop the ability of metacognition. Now, when people hear this word metacognition, they think that it is something that beyond our comprehension. As teachers and as school heads and as institution heads, most of us would have heard about this metacognition. Metacognition is nothing but thinking about thinking. So this recently it has been proven that this metacognition ability starts by the age, somewhere around the age of 3, 4, 5. And that is the age at which, according to NEP, we start the formal education of our children. And this metacognition is directly supported by the two different areas, that is literacy and numeracy. So once your literacy and numeracy area is you're proficient in that, you are likely to be very proficient in your metacognition ability also. Now, why do we need to have this? Why this metacognition ability is so important? This is because uh, this awareness about our own thinking helps the students to be more aware about how they learn, and what are the necessary, what are the necessary things that helps them to learn, and what are the hindrances to their own learning. So this metacognition helps them in self-awareness, and it also helps in bridging the learning gaps that our children have. So that important is that metacognition. Now the third important point about FLN, why this FLN is so important, is that again it comes to metacognition, and that is metacognition ability helps the children to be creative and to think critically, and also be flexible, which is and these three abilities or the skills are very, very important in the present 21st century. You see the types of careers or the types of jobs the children who are the children who are now in the foundational stage, and by the time they complete their school education, the types of careers this children will be undertaking, or the types of careers that will be available at those times, we cannot even think of the types of careers. So, but one thing is very clear, one thing we are very clear about is that those careers will necessarily need the ability of creativity, critical thinking, imagination, and lots of flexibility. So what has to be done at the school education stage? It is very, very important that we develop these kinds of abilities in our children. And the foundational stage of the children, that is up to the age of 8 years, is now considered to be the most important stage of their school education, and a lot of emphasis and policy wise, government of India policy wise and pedagogy wise, etc., a lot of importance is given to this um, foundational stage. Now we also need to um, uh, kind of modify the way we taught our children. We need to change the pedagogical practices, the kind of skill sets that the children are having, the kind of approach towards pedagogy, and the approach towards assessment, very important, the assessment strategies, the approach towards assessment and the assessment strategies, and also the curriculum that we had till now has to be changed, and teachers have to orient themselves. There is no other way. Teachers have to orient themselves with this new changes in the field of education. Now mostly what happens is that teachers, school heads, institution heads, etc., they don't want to come out of their about their comfort zone, and many institutions, we see that the pedagogical practices, the assessment strategies and all are still, the old one is being followed. Now, how do we bring about these changes in the strategies or the pedagogical practices? How do we achieve the learning outcomes? How do we actually bring about changes in the grassroots level? Making policies and trying to implement that is very good, but it is very, very important that we see to it that it is implemented at the grassroots level. And for implementing that at the grassroots level, one very, very important thing that I have seen from my experience is that everybody in the field of education, whether it is a teacher or if possible, by the parent, the school head, the people, all the people, the institution head, everybody who is dealing in the field of education, they should be very, very thorough with the national education policy and national education, for if it is for the foundational stage, national curriculum framework for the foundational stage. Now this is the national curriculum framework for the foundational stage. This is about, a document is about 360 pages, and this document is the national curriculum framework for school education. This was released in 2023. The previous one was released in 2020. Now, this is about more than 600 pages. It is, when you look at it, you feel that it is a very, very difficult book or a difficult document to follow. Of course, it is available in digital form also. One thing I would say that all teachers should have, or all schools and all institution heads must go through that, not once but at least thrice. If you read it just once, you will not understand, or you will understand it in parts, but necessarily you'll have to go back and then you have to read that national curriculum framework. And in my experience, I have seen that in many schools, teachers are not aware of what exactly is the national curriculum framework for foundational stage. National curriculum framework, what are the changes that has been brought about in the assessment strategies, or what are the pedagogical practices that needs to be changed, and what are the changes in the curriculum itself. So unless teachers are very, very thorough with national curriculum framework, the foundational stage, and national curriculum framework for school education, these policies of foundational literacy and numeracy and other policy, and it will remain at the policy level only. It will not percolate to the grassroots level. Now, many teachers, they come and ask me, Madam, what exactly is this competency based education? What exactly is this experiential learning? This experiential learning, and if the school heads are not able to give a proper answer to what exactly is experiential learning with examples, then it will be difficult for the teachers to understand. So teachers all have to understand, and a lot of effort has to be taken by the institutional heads also to understand what exactly is competency based learning, and what is experiential learning, what is project based learning, what is inquiry based learning, etc. Because all these things are actually related to your metacognition. So once you understand the brain development of the child, it will be very easy for the teachers to see why certain concepts are not understood by the children, or why some children are lagging behind in achieving this foundational literacy and numeracy, and then they can devise methods and pedagogical practice to achieve those learning outcomes. Now I have briefly described what exactly is foundational literacy and numeracy, and what can be done. Now I will come to what can be done to achieve this national this mission of Nipun Bharat mission, that is foundational literacy and numeracy. Now one very important thing that I would like to emphasize here is that National Curriculum Framework for Foundational Stage is a very brilliant document, and the plan of action for the school is given in that. So there is no need for teachers to ask here and there, or go, ask other schools what is happening in the school. So it's just that this plan of action for schools is completely given in that. With respect to the competencies, with respect to the learning outcomes, with respect to the curricular goals that has to be achieved, and then finally the domains of development, and then finally the aims of education. Aims of education, the domains, and then the curricular goals, the competencies, and then the learning outcomes are very clearly defined. So with the new textbooks that have come for classes 1 and 2, teachers need to go through go through all the chapters, and for each chapter or each lesson, they need to devise the activities, keeping in mind the learning outcomes, and then keeping in mind the learning outcomes, and to achieve the competencies that are required. And the competencies and learning outcomes for all the different stages are clearly mentioned in NCF. Now, when it comes to, children in a class, suppose we are having about 40 to 50 children in a class. All the children will not be learning at the same pace. So for that, the competency based learning comes, wherein each child has to be taken as a separate, has to be thought of as a separate individual facing different kinds. He may be having lots of the child may be very good in certain subjects, the child may not be good in certain subjects. So what are his uh, what is the way in which the child learns? So a differential learning and differential assessment strategies have to be planned for the children. So once that is planned, and then once that is implemented, and once those activities are done in the class, then only we can even think about achieving this foundational literacy and numeracy at least by 2026 or 27, as it is required by our by the Nipun Bharat mission. Now, when it comes to assessment, there are there is a total change in the way we used to assess children. Earlier, we used to just have, class examinations or examinations at the end of the term, or unit test, and then we used to assess the children. Now, according to NCF, National Curriculum Framework for School Education, the assessment has to be a part of the learning process. The assessment, there are assessment at different stages, and there is formative assessment, there is summative assessment, there is peer assessment, and there is self-assessment also. Now, the self-assessment and peer assessment are clearly they are related to the metacognition capability. That is, the child in the process of learning, in the process of the teaching learning process, a teacher is assessing at one pace. The child also has self-assesses. The child assesses himself and also assesses his peers by by thinking about his own thinking or her own thinking, and then develop strategies to overcome the difficulties that the child is facing, whether it is in reading, whether it is in writing, whether it is in any other way of understanding the concepts. So that important is assessment. Now, in NCF-SE and NCF-FS, they have given 3 types of assessment. That is assessment of learning, assessment for learning, and assessment as learning. Now, about these 3 types of assessment, I will make a very detailed video, but in this video I will just simplify and tell what exactly is assessment of learning, assessment for learning, and assessment as learning, because many teachers are having difficulty. Many teachers get confused in what exactly is this assessment for learning, assessment of learning. Now, first one is there are 3 kinds of assessment here mentioned in NCF-SE. The first one is assessment of learning. Assessment of learning is very simple. It is summative assessment that is done at the end of a unit or at the end of a term. We finally see whether the child has achieved the learning outcome or achieved the competency that we wanted the child to achieve at that particular age. So that is assessment of learning, which further helps us to change our teaching learning strategies and the material that we use to teach in the class, or the environment that we create for the child, to change our strategies to better our teaching process or the pedagogical process. That is assessment of learning. Now, assessment for learning is before before the class starts. Suppose the teacher goes into a for example, a teacher goes into a class, will take as class 4 and starts to teach the multiplication of two-digit numbers. And the multiplication of two-digit numbers, she or he has a learning objective. The learning objective at the end of the session or the end of the class is that the child should be able to do a two-digit multiplication by the end of the class. Now, before the teacher starts the class, the teacher will try to assess the child to find out whether the child is aware of the place value system and also whether the child is able to do a single digit multiplication. So the child is able to do single digit multiplication and he is completely aware of the concept of place value, then only we can go to the next step, that is a two-digit multiplication or a three-digit multiplication. So that is assessment for learning, and this can be done in various ways. It can be just oral questions, or it can be just a discussion kind of a thing, or it can be a game or something that the teacher does in the class, and to understand whether the children are at the basic level or not. Now, why this assessment for learning is important is that there are different children who come from different backgrounds, so they may not have achieved, or they would have come from some other school, or they would have taken a break or something, and then those children wouldn't have achieved that. So for them to understand a two-digit multiplication or a three-digit multiplication in the class is not easy. So first, that learning gap has to be filled, and then only we have to move to the next step. That is assessment for learning. Now, assessment as learning is the assessment that the child does about his own learning. Whether what is it that suppose a child gets a homework and goes home and does the homework and brings to the class, and then sees that, okay, this is the way, I could have done it in a better way. And with the help of the teacher, of course, assessment for learning and as learning both are with the help of the teacher. So teacher tells the child in the process of learning, in the process of the interaction between the teacher and the student, the teacher tells the student that this could have been done in a better way. So it is also connected to our metacognition abilities. So I hope this video will be useful to all the teachers out there who will be implementing NCF, implementing NEP 2020 and the new form of assessment. I will also speak about HPC, that is Holistic Progress Card, in my upcoming video.